So we aren't in the Musée d'Orsay located in Paris, France, looking at a piece called The Dance Class by Edgar Degas.
Originally, this piece was meant to be featured at the First Impressionist exhibition, but it didn't make it there until 2 years later.
Yes, and Degas agreed to that because he needed to sell his paintings, which were originally just a hobby, to get his family out of debt caused by his brother.
Right, so already Degas is setting himself aside from other Impressionist painters, and he also does so by favoring the indoor scene over the outdoor, which so many others of his style, like Monet, tended to use.
In this piece, he takes us inside of a dance studio at the Paris Opera House, and he frequently featured ballerinas. Not because he, enjoyed ballerinas, but because the painting sold well.
Exactly. Degas is just trying to make some money here, and even then, he still cares about his work. With the dance class, he's putting a lot more effort into the little details of the scene.
It's almost like you took a snapshot of this class right at the end of a practice.
To the left-hand side of the piece is one dancer whose back is to us, so she really doesn't seem into what's going on.
Next to her is this sort of awkward-looking pair of dancers, and what seems to be going on is that the one in the back is adjusting the other's tutu in some way.
You're right, that is a pretty strange thing to be looking at in a painting, but that was what Degas focused on, the little gestures and actions that people were doing as he was painting.
Right, just like that is the ballerina behind those two, who appears to be biting her nails in anticipation for her performance.
Well, it's not really a performance, but more of an evaluation, because they're in a dance studio, and off to the right-hand side of the painting is an instructor who seems to be observing them.
Yes, actually that instructor is a real person named Jules Perrot, who worked at the Paris Opera House studio.
And he's the only sort of solemn and rigid thing in the piece. Everywhere else, the girls seemed tired or nervous, whereas he stands basically unmoved and unfazed by anything else in the room.
I agree with you that he is sort of the authority figure in the painting, but I think that he isn't unfazed because he has his baton in his hand and he's most likely giving out a time for the dancer. He's not this unmoving figure, but literally the central force or heartbeat of the scene.
I see what you're saying, and to that beat, the girls move like clockwork. You know, none of them seem happy or energetic despite the movement in the piece.
Right, and that really fits the urban scene. In addition, with the mirror in the back of the room, you can see the city reflected through the window.
And that's part of how Degas really focused on perspective. I mean, the entire piece is set up in his classic position of being in a corner, and that gives both the floor and the ceiling a place in the scene.
Definitely, you can see the slope of the ceiling reaching the vanishing point off in the right. Degas is painting a snapshot and focusing on the little details, but also creating this perfect perspective that is a metaphor for the subject itself.